Tawana Bowling, and my one word is inspire.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Angie, and if I could describe my experience in one word, it would be the word reset.
My one word is self. My name is Nikki Knight, and my one word for this weekend's retreat is timeless.
Hello, my name is Patricia. My one word for this weekend is probably eye-opening.
Hi, I'm Stacy, and my one word would be motivation.
If I had to describe this weekend with one word, that word would be refreshing. It's refreshing because it was anew. We had wonderful, beautiful ladies who came out and shared their time with us. So it's refreshing to know that our work, or the labors of our work, are becoming, how can I say that? You touch me, you know, when you give to somebody.
It's the impact.
Yes.
It's interlocked.
Yes.
It's interconnected.
Yes. Come on, with all words.
Hello, everybody. Happy Visionary Weekend Recap. I am Tiffany. I am the owner and operator of this platform, JKC Collective Community. And I have with me our executive talk guest, Kenshay Saxton, and we are here to recap the 2023-24 Visionary Retreat Weekend. So if you're watching this movie, it is for you to be provided an in-depth insight, recap, and just reference point of the weekend itself, the different topics that we went over and had and shared in dialogue about, also to get our recap and our visionary experience, because you know, it hits home for you guys, but it oftentimes hits in a different spot for us just the same. So we're going to go through each and every day. We're also going to give insight about the visionary box that is truly, I don't want to say stacked, but it's truly filled with really, really good stuff.
I agree.
This year. And I mean, we do good every year, but I think this year we've exceeded the expectations because we've added so many more items to the box to be able to be applied as reinforcements and accountability. So I'm excited to get into the box at the very end. So I guess we can start off by kind of giving a little background because we do have some new visionaries, as always, that join the community and join the fold. And this year we celebrated 5 years.
5 years.
5 years. 5 years, and I don't even think I realized that it was the 5th year until after we were like
rapping. Because after we wrapped up, I was like, this is year 5.
Yes.
This is a big year. Yes. And it was a big year.
Yes.
And when I say you hit those milestones with bangs,
yes,
we hit this milestone with the bang.
Yes.
It was so much of a bang we didn't realize it until after how many years it had truly been.
Yes.
And it's been a blessing.
And I know, like, when we started out, like, I'll never forget the very first visionary party. We had rented out a co-work space that we had recorded at in the past. And you remember I dropped that bottle of apple out. I'll never forget, it was apple Jack Daniels, which is one of my favorite, you know, brown look.
The whole bottle.
The whole bottle. In the midst of trying to like put together and make the sangria, I dropped the bottle. And I mean, back then we were just kind of trial and error. Like, you know, we'd made vision boards on our own, and it was something that we wanted to extend to the community. And I think every year we've like met our numbers.
We've met our numbers. We've exceeded our numbers. Yes. And we're growing.
Yes.
And I think by far, when we first started, it was like, okay, we had 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know, and from that 2 hours, we've grown to 3 days.
Yes.
So when I say a blessing, it's truly been a blessing.
Yeah.
Because when we use this, like you said, we were just starting out. We did vision boards, and I've done vision boards. To be honest, when we started 5 years ago, I was starting with y'all because I was doing my vision boards, but truly didn't understand the purpose of a vision board.
Right.
And because I didn't understand it, I wasn't really reaping the benefits of doing a vision board. So that's what I would say, growing. And we, you know, every year is adding on. So from 2 hours to 3 days.
Yeah, that's the big difference.
Ooh, that's a big difference.
That's the big difference. And this is our second year in having a full-fledged retreat. Last year we did our very first retreat, and we partnered with a local event space to be able to have like a landing space to have and host all of the events for you know, the 3-day weekend. And a lot of the feedback that we got was, you know, we want somewhere to lodge, we want somewhere to stay so we don't have to come and go. And we heard it, and we listened, and we took that and was like, okay,
we got this.
We got this. We're going to make it happen. And in selecting the actual landing space, it scared me. I had never like physically stayed at the Sea Baldwin Hotel until we had our actual retreat. The way that the landing space for the Sea Baldwin Hotel came about is I had seen it like on TikTok or Instagram or something to that effect, and I had seen it like based off of their restaurant.
Right.
So I went to have a self-care day for myself for brunch, and I just love like the atmosphere. I love the artwork. I love the infrastructure of the actual, you know, place. And I came back to Kinshay and I was like, I think if we're gonna do something, I think if we're gonna have a landing space, then this should be it.
Yeah.
And she slept on it. We went and toured, and when we went and toured, it was like they welcomed us, you know, and it was kind of like to see, you know, Black and brown women and men that look like us, that was working in every entity, from the restaurant to the valet to leadership to the front desk. Yeah, it was like, okay, we should be here. And from then we started planning. Yeah. So we initially began the planning process in March is when we put down our deposit. And I would say probably up until I checked out, it was a surreal moment for me. Getting on the elevator the second day, because we checked in on that Friday evening, and getting in on the elevator on that second day, to go downstairs to check to make sure that breakfast was being set up. I'm like, sweatshirt, bunted on, getting on the elevator. And I'm like, wait a minute, Jesus. Am I really getting on these people's elevator with my bunny on? And I had said when we checked in, I was like, Shay, are we really supposed to be here? And it was like so many confirmations throughout the process.
Even from the start of it, I can recall when we're going, because their rooms are named after very important women. And I felt like, okay, well, boom, everywhere you turned, it was confirmation after confirmation. So I didn't doubt it from the very beginning. Right. When she first asked me, I was like, I wasn't there. So I was like, let's see. We're going to see about it.
Right.
Slept on it. We did it. And it got done. Right. And as Tiffany would say, she kept saying, you know, are we supposed to be here? You damn right we supposed to be here. And we proved that. Right. So, I mean, when we ended the retreat, I was like, wow, we really just did this. Yes. So anything is possible.
Yes. And I loved that, like, the confirmation throughout. One of the big confirmations was when we went for our final walkthrough. And we got off the elevator and took a left versus a right to the conference rooms. And we ended up going in like a complete circle going around. And there was this huge picture of this woman. And it actually reminded me of the magazine that we did some time ago at Herman Park. And we were like talking about the magazine and like breeding magazines, like growing magazines from the ground. And it was a lady with her high heels on, foot on a shovel in the ground, and that was like a focal point picture of the hotel. And it was like, okay, I feel better about this.
We just bloomed where we were planning.
We just bloomed where we was planning, and that ultimately became the theme for this year's retreat, to bloom where you are planted. So it was an experience.
It definitely was.
I'm happy that we were able to execute.
I agree.
All of the ladies have given so much positive feedback of the things that they enjoyed from start to finish. The ladies that lodged on site were able to have all of their meals, with the exception of one, included. At the hotel, they dedicated their conference rooms to us throughout the weekend. And they have a speakeasy on site. So that Friday evening, we were in the speakeasy, and they had like 2 or 3 other Christmas parties going on at the same time. And even with all these Christmas parties that was going on at the same time, it felt like so warm that people knew who we were. Like, you would see the kiosks and it would have visionary.
And we was on the board.
Yes, we were on the board.
Yes.
We were on the kiosk.
Yes.
So it would say visionary retreat and what the actual event was, the time, the start time and end time, in the room in which we were. So that felt really good. And I can remember walking into like seeing a couple people in passing and like, oh, so you're the retreat that's here. And he was like, yeah, that's us. So shout out to, you know, the C. Baldwin Hotel for hosting us. Great experience, especially with our event coordinator. Like, she went above and beyond to accommodate us. And I know that it was nothing but God's hand and timing in how this was planned out. And one goal that Kinshay and I strive for every year is to make sure that we execute without any debt. And to be able to execute an event of that magnitude without any debt is like, but God, only God. So that's what I'm grateful for. And I'm looking forward to 2024, 2025. And I would be dishonest if I didn't say we haven't already started talking about it, or already started kind of brainstorming and thinking about things. Because it gets better every time. It does. And we exceed our own expectations. All right. So to get into like the actual days and the talking points of what was discussed, one thing that I love about the retreat is it is an opportunity for us as women to really pour into each other and be able to have a safe space to be vulnerable, to be able to share in our own experience, to be able to give feedback and insight to each other. And when we talk about, when Shay and I kind of talk about the topics that we're going to discuss, we really pull from our own experiences of the year. I agree. And a little bit also from the podcast and things that we've talked about throughout the year with the podcast. And in opening up that Friday for the reception, we started off by talking about identity and perception. And for me, that is something, especially this year, that I've really kind of brought more awareness to for myself. I have come to believe that, you know, when you know and walk in your own identity, you really tap into your own ability. And your ability is truly, for me, what you answer to and what you respond to. So for me, when you walk in your identity, when you walk in, you know, a place where you are eliminating the perception of what people think you are or expect you to be, that is when you truly tap into an inner wealth within yourself. So we opened up with that, and we had a guest speaker, Eileen G, who came in and just did her thing.
I'm trying to tell you. I was like, but again, we pride ourselves on intimacy. So it went from our welcome committee just opening up with a bang. And then when she came in, she really hit it. And when I tell y'all, it was stuff that you wouldn't even think about. Or knowing who you are. I'm not saying that I don't know who I am, but it's always good to have that reinforcement and putting you on the path you know, because I veered a little bit.
Right.
Just a little bit of background. I did have a baby.
Yay.
And
Baby.
not saying that I lost who I was, but I got a whole person. And I had a lot that I had to deal with within myself. So I was silent for a while, only because I was trying to figure out who I was. I knew who I was as a person, but to know who I was as a mother.
Yes.
I have godchildren. I do. And they take over, you know, quite a bit. But I had to rediscover who I was in order to figure out who I'm going to be as a mother. And when I tell you she hit everything, I was sitting there like, girl, get out my house.
Yes.
Close the door. Don't come back. But it was really, really good, y'all. I promise y'all. Walking in your identity, and as she would say, it took her a long time to get to where she was.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to know who you are in order for your life to flow as it should. Right. Because you are the director of your life. And the Lord gives you that path and you have to walk it. Yeah. But if you don't know who you are, you can't walk that. Yeah. So walking your own identity, your true identity. Yes. Eliminating the perceptions of others.
Eliminating the perception of others. So we are going to share with you a clip from the actual speaking engagement, and you can check that out here and now.
Yes.
And that's what I'm here to say to you. Speak to me, as in speak to yourself. Look in your bag. You took my intro. You guys took my intro icebreaker. So I'm happy. I'm very happy because you've already done the first piece of this. So I want you to hold on to that card because we're still going to use the card. It's going to be very useful. So before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Eileen G. I am a social worker, true and true in the sense that my undergraduate degree is social work, my master's degree is social work. I'm an HBCU alum. Tiger in the house, TSU, HBCU. I love my HBCU. I tell everybody, send your kids to HBCU. Send your kids to HBCU. They'll get the best experience of their life. So, not to digress, but I am, like I said, a social worker. I've been a social worker since 2002. And then I worked for a short bit, went to grad school, came back, worked as a social worker. I was privileged to work with Tiffany at Bentage. She was actually my manager at Bentage. So I left that. Outside of that, I also consult as a project manager, and currently that's what I'm doing. I work in corporate America as a project manager in oil and gas. So I enjoy that. Sometimes, you know, you get into the routine of being so nurturing and caring and loving and all these things, and you just need to step away sometimes and speak to yourself. So I wanted to introduce you and let you know what I do. I do sound different. It's simply because I'm multicultural. I'm of 3 continents. My grandmother is Sicilian Irish, my grandfather is African American, and they had my dad, and then he married an African woman in Nigeria, and I was raised in England, so I do sound a little different. So my background is very dynamic, and so I love being here with you all because I truly feel like we are all interwoven in one way or another. So thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, pardon me, Ma'am Kishay, for giving me this opportunity to be here with you all today. I don't take it for granted. You allowing me into this safe space to share with you and to build us together, like the roots that we are, to be interwoven and to build this beautiful tree. So thank you very much for the privilege. It's truly not taken for granted. So with that said, I want you all to look into your bags. You should see a mirror. You should see a mirror in your bag. Yes, in case you don't know, one of my favorite colors is pink. Yes. Have pink couches, pink pillows, pink everything. A lot of people come to my house and are like, wow, my sister says your house will be like a Barbie house soon. So yes, it's a pink mirror. So, like I said, my name is Eileen G, and I'm with the Butterfly Experience. I am a life coach as well, part of being the nurturer that I am. It instinctively comes out of me. So I eventually branched out and became a life coach. So you can rip the plastic off. So I want you to hold that mirror, and I want you to look at yourself. Look at yourself. Admire yourself. Those character traits that you wrote down, because that's what we were going to do. I was going to have you write them down. Do you see that woman looking at you in the mirror? Do you? She's there. Everything you like what you see? Tell yourself, I like what I see. Talk to her. Talk to her. Does it make you feel somehow looking at yourself and talking to yourself? Okay, good. You do that all the time. Oh, but in the mirror, you can talk to yourself, but when you stand in front of the mirror and you look at the woman, it's very empowering. Let me tell you something that I did once. Growing up, I never felt I was beautiful. Never felt I was beautiful. I did not realize I was beautiful till I was in my 30s. I always felt like that big girl that would go out with friends. They call the handbag girl. I would hold a handbag and sit in the corner because I was never beautiful. Growing up, I never had hair. My hair was this short. And I went to a predominantly Irish school. And I was older and more mature and developed than most of my friends. So they would always make fun of me. And I wasn't the cute girl. So one day, I stood in the mirror. I remember my father said something to me one day. He said, if I had what you had, I would never pay for anything. And I never fully understood what my father was trying to communicate to me at that time. So one day I stood in the mirror. I took a mirror just like this in your hand, and I stood behind the mirror and I looked at myself from the back. That one thing that I did, it broke so many things in my mind's eye about who I am, about my identity. I'm going somewhere with this. When you look at yourself from behind and you see yourself from a perspective that you've never seen yourself before, it kind of jolts something within you. I saw a beautiful woman. I saw my shape, my figure, and I was like, oh, is that me? It's like an aha moment. And so many things within me just kind of coiled up, so many emotions. And I said to myself, when I let so-and-so access to this, and I let this happen to this, I'm amazing. You understand what I'm saying? So tonight we're talking about identity, we're talking about self-discovery, we're talking about perception, we're talking about knowing these things about yourself.
All right, and we are back, and I hope you guys enjoyed that clip from Eileen Gabbis, and definitely be sure to like and follow her platform on IG. Her information is posted at the bottom of this actual screen. So fast forwarding to Saturday for me, I was very nervous about. I feel like I had a lot of anxiety about Saturday. I think it was because it was so much into that one day. Like, it was so many moving parts.
I agree.
Because not only did we have, a guest speaker for the Day of Solitude, we had 2 vendors that came on site. And the vendors that came on site, we were very strategic and intentional about planning for them to be there. Part of my self-care journey has been really understanding that I carry a lot within my crown, within my body, and also, within my feet, on which I stand. And I felt at one point in time I was carrying so much that I needed a way to relieve that tension, relieve that pressure. And I really got into tea. Tea for me is something that, that I drink throughout the day. I generally have a cup of tea at the top of the morning every morning, and sometimes even at night, to kind of just, settle myself and be able to rest.
Yes.
So for me to be able to have Purple Star Goddess there on site, to be able to allow the ladies to blend their own teas. And I'm talking about, like, the setup was beautiful, and how she was able to give people the opportunity to say and to find out more information about the different ingredients, and really zone in on the things that you're putting into your body. And then also to have a Royal Slay Day there with Liz, She was there to help the ladies make their own foot scrub and foot soaps.
Yes.
So those were takeaways that they received and interactive self-care stations that they were able to, create their own blends and take with them.
Right.
On top of the self-care stations, we had self-care swag bags.
Yes. And if I tell y'all, in the swag bag, I'm still waiting on mine. The swag bags, I was like, okay, so they got shirts, they got pedicure stuff, they got, because like she said, it's very important on what you put in your body. But we also have to remember, when you do a pedicure, anything, you're releasing those toxins. So at the same time, we also what you take out of your body, so what you put in,
right,
but what's coming out,
right.
And just going back, let me piggyback off that, because we did not mention that they did receive teapots, their own teapots, and learning those ingredients and being intentional with what you're putting in your blends. And I love the fact that she gave us a little sheet. Baby, I said, I want to punch, but I want to be able to relieve stress. I want to be able to bring my blood pressure down. I want to be able to relax. I was able to put all of that in one blend, blend it up, and then even put it in a bag. Right. Y'all, if I tell y'all, that tea is amazing. And like you said, I have one at the top of the morning. I'm not a coffee drinker. Yeah, me either. So tea does help settle me. It helps me get me started. Right. With my day, I can focus better with that cup of tea that I do have. I don't do it at night because, again, like I said, I'm a mama, and I be having to be alert because she be alert. So I do not drink tea at night. But it was a blessing to have the teapot and able to, I ain't never did that before. Yeah. I just give me a pot of water and I put the tea bags in there and I make my tea like that. But to have a teapot, y'all, that was a blessing for me from her.
I love that. And also in the swag bags
was the spoon.
So we gifted them a blue spoon to be able to stir. And we also got or received some giveaways from our LaRue Touch Massage Spa, which is where we hosted our Day of Solitude last year. So they received tea, they received the soap, they received their t-shirt. They received a water bottle because it's important to make sure that you're hydrated. Hydrate your roots is what the water bottle said. And then they also received a special gift from our guest speaker, Kevia Jones, from Just Chill Out Yoga. And when I think about it, we've partnered with Kevia on a number of different things. Yes. This was her first time being a part of our visionary retreat, but she came in and she did what she does and what she is good at. She is a health and wellness guru. And for me, when I think about holistic self-care, I see her. Yes. It is a lifestyle for her.
Truly lifestyle.
A true lifestyle. Yeah. And on last year, we did like the glitz and glam of self-care. So we had the spa and the massages and the facials and
foot rubs and all that stuff.
Yeah, we had all of that last year, but this year I think it was important for us to work on some internal self-care because those are some things that we've been working on, and we wanted to make sure that we had a conversation of what self-care looks like. So we had the ladies to open up with sharing their relationship with self-care. And some of them were very just kind of transparent. Like, it's a challenge for me to, really factor in self-care for one reason or another. And if I don't have my X, Y, and Z, then I'm not able to, have true self-care. And we talked about, well, what happens when you don't have a journal? What happens when you don't have a yoga mat? What happens when you don't have those tangible items to support your self-care? And understanding that, the routine of self-care, the structure or the strategy is not pretty. And it's not going to look the same from one person to another. It's not going to look the same from one season to another. Because depending on what season you are in your life or even in your self-care journey, you're going to need different things. So we had a conversation with Kevia of understanding that self-care is not a pretty picture. A lot of it is internal, but it is also empowering to really tap into and have true self-care. We talked a great deal about the community that you have within your group when it comes to self-care and holding each other accountable for that. I'm big on, like, when I reach out and I check in and it's like, she's smiling because she know what I'm gonna say. And I'm checking in and you're like, hey, I'm just so stressed out. I just got all this going on. My response is going to be, what have you done for yourself? Because so often as women, you know, it's easy for us to take care of everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a nurturing thing.
It's a nurturing thing.
And it's something that we do on a regular. So we don't look to think of ourselves. It's about making sure everyone else around you, that they're okay.
Right.
But in the meantime, you're drowning. Just because I don't say it, just because I don't make mention of it, don't mean I don't go through stuff too.
Right.
So again, I can remember my first self-care situation. Because this one here, what you doing for self-care? What do you do for self-care? What does it look like? Start with 5 minutes. Start with 2 minutes. I was like, girl, I can't even give you 2. She's like, okay, give me 30 seconds. And that's when I was just sitting in the middle of the bed. And that 30 seconds, I was like, oh, this feel good. Then I made it a minute. Then I just kept on adding and kept on adding and kept on adding. Because I have to remember, what I have for others is a replication of what I give to myself. So if I ain't giving it to myself, I don't have it to give to others. So that means that something is negative.
Yeah.
And I was neglecting myself. So at the end of the day, I'm going to fill my cup.
Yeah.
And what I have left over goes to others.
Yeah.
And then the rest is for me.
Yes.
And now my baby.
Yes. I love that. And I know in the beginning, like, when I would challenge you on self-care, like, she had, like, it was a full-fledged, like, argument. Like, she had a rebuttal for everything. And it became a push, but it was that structured support that I think, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, that helped you to be held accountable for that and pour into yourself. Because, I mean, truly at the end of the day, if we're not pouring into ourselves, how can we expect other people to do it? And how can you expect yourself to be and present your very best if you don't have it to give? So we talked a great deal about that. And I will have to say, you know, kind of like what you said with Eileen, Kevia was in my house. She was in my backyard. Like, she was peeking through the windows. And I was like, girl, get out. Stop, please. Now, move. Go home. But it was good. And it was awesome. It was definitely an awesome experience. And the clip for that you will find now.
My name is Delana, and after my yoga experience today, I actually feel like I feel good, I feel loose, and ready to take a nap.
This was my first yoga experience. I really enjoyed it. I used muscles that I didn't realize I had, and I really want to incorporate this more in the future. I enjoyed myself.
Hey, my name is Sheena, and after yoga, I am feeling centered and grounded.
And I'm Stacy. And after yoga, I feel very relaxed. And my body feels, I don't know, I worked out yesterday and everything, so I feel real good. And I feel rejuvenated.
After my yoga experience, I am feeling rested and relaxed. It was a time.
Hi, my name is Angelina, and after the yoga experience, which was my very first time ever experiencing yoga, it was really good. I found myself pushing through times where I wanted to quit, but the instructor was very good, and I feel super relaxed and like ready to take on the rest of my day. Might want to incorporate this in my routine.
So I am Sunny, and that event that I had where I met them at, I was fresh into figuring out what was going on in my life. Okay. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew that I wasn't staying where I was. Okay. And I have dealt with severe anxiety, bipolar disorder, PTSD, all of them, you can name them. They on my record somewhere. And after about 7 years of them just giving me medication after medication, having a feeling hard, like every suicide attempt, every psych ward, or every thing that they had given me or advised or directed me to that was supposed to help only really end up hurting and making my situation like much worse. I started out teaching yoga to children. Let me back up. One, I didn't even know yoga was an option for me. As a Black girl dealing with issues, I didn't know that yoga was a thing that we could do, that we were allowed. It's crazy that you have to say allowed. I didn't know that we were allowed to do yoga because we never had the representation growing up. So I didn't have any other outlets. I just knew that I wasn't going about it the way that they had been advising me, the pills and all the things. And starting out, I didn't know where I wanted to go in this journey of teaching yoga. I just knew that I stumbled across a class. I was going somewhere I didn't have no business going. It was in a professional building. I couldn't think of the suite number because I had an anxiety attack driving there, and I walked into the wrong suite number. It was a yoga class. And they was like, come on in, you can stay, you can stay. And I was like, damn. Because you didn't want to be rude. I was never a rude person. And I sat there quiet, shy, nervous, scared, didn't know what they was about to do. I was like, should I be sending some last goodbye texts? Like, is this some type of code? What are they doing? They making all these noises. Their eyes are closed. I didn't know I could be safe in that space, but it was because I hadn't yet made myself feel safe, like internally, right? Came across this Black yoga instructor right out of third ward, and I had applied for yoga school in India. I don't know nobody over there. I was going though. I was gonna go because going and getting away sounded like the answer. Let me just go and detach and, out of sight, out of mind. Came across this lady on social media. We got to talking. We ended up on the phone for hours. She said, I want to bless you with a space in my yoga school. I was like, girl, I ain't got no money for that. I'm just applying for India, but I don't got the money yet. So I don't know how this is gonna work. And she said it was a God thing, that she had to give me the space, or, she was gonna be fine for me disobedient. And it's changed my life since then. Self-care for me has become the medicine in place of all the medicine that they gave me before. I cannot stop caring for myself in the ways that I do because it's the answer. And when you look up what self-care is, it's to preserve, oneself in result that you have a healthier life. So I've just learned how to preserve myself in the ways that, are most needed and most necessary. And to be here today, like she said, self-care not easy, it's not always pretty, it's not always laid out. It is a roller coaster and shit be hitting the fan. And some days you don't want to, you don't feel like it, you don't have it in you. But I'm excited to be on this journey and to be sharing this day in this space with y'all today. So I'm still alive, that's all I'm gonna say. Anxiety didn't kill me. And you just have to let that be the decision that you make.
I love that you just shared that self-care was or is preserving those pieces of you that are necessary, and that it being the medicine in what the pills or the prescription did not do. I oftentimes feel that self-care is a purposeful engagement. Right? It's a purposeful engagement on so many levels, with oneself, with one's belief system, with physical, with spiritual. And I know it may be very hard to define, but if you would please, like in a contextual way, define what self-care is.
I would say it is hard to describe it because it doesn't have to be defined or, in any sort of formality. if I had to describe it, I would say to me, self-care is having a little bit of leftovers for tomorrow. That's what I would say. Not exhausting it, not depleting it, not using it all up, consuming it all up just because you have it right there today, but having a little bit of leftovers for tomorrow. That's what I would say.
When we talk about leftovers for tomorrow, we also kind of chime into what society or the culture would say about being present in the moment. And when you're being present in the moment, oftentimes you don't think about tomorrow. So it's, you know, for me, that's a head check to say save something for tomorrow. I know you guys may have recalled Ken Shay's analogy with self-care in the teacup and the saucer, and understanding that the teacup is your self-care and what you have for yourself, and what's on the saucer is love for everyone else. And for when you said what's left over for tomorrow, that's what I thought about, what's left over for tomorrow. When we talk about holistic self-care, it being a daily walk for today, and now that we know for tomorrow, we know that there's so many things that are going to interconnect, interlock. And for me, and for those that are here, that's like, I gotta have a strategy, I gotta have a plan, I gotta make sure I have my mat, I gotta make sure I have, you know, my journal. What does that look like? Like, is it a priority when you're working toward practicing holistic self-care? Is there one thing we should be looking at or valuing over the other?
Two things, because I know we talked about being where your feet are. That's super important. So I don't want to sound as if I'm contradicting a little leftover for tomorrow. By that, I mean giving today what it needs, what's necessary, what's required. Not overextended, not overwhelming, not overdoing it, because we're not really being graded, you know, by our higher belief system about how above and beyond you go. It's about obedience, consistency, and, you know, so on and so forth. The holistic aspect, I would say, as far as what should be prioritized over the other, has a lot to do with your core beliefs, your core values, what your pillars are. For me, what's a priority is being able to show up for myself in terms of self-care without feeling guilty. So for me, it's doing it with a guilt-free mindset. That takes priority over everything. It's doing it with my whole self. That takes priority over if I have a mat, if I have a journal, because in those moments where you don't have any of those things, what do? I don't base how I show up for myself in terms of self-care based on intangible things, because sometimes it's just that in the car moment. Sometimes it's just like us departing from yoga and me needing to step away just to check in and say, okay, now how are you, before you go pour again. So showing up for myself wholly, those are what I prioritize over every other aspect. Because in the event you don't have those things that you attach and associate with self-care, then what do? If you don't have that radio, if you don't have that candle, if you don't have that bubble bath right then and there, if you're not booked for a massage right then, if your pedicure lady say, come back in 30 minutes, what do you do in that moment right there? So I prioritize just showing up wholly and being guilt-free in those moments of, or actions of self-care.
When we talk about purposeful, I also think about being, you know, mindful within my engagement, and the implementation thereof with my self-care. I have come to find, because I had, I guess maybe up until last year or the year before that self-care was the bubble baths, it was the spa, it was, you know, brunch with the girls, it was the winery, it was all of those tangible things. And it wasn't until I began to do some shadow work that I was like, oh, this is the real shit.
That's
like
the cute part.
This is the self-care. And for me, and I think that's why consistently journaling has remained a part of my self-care strategy, or part of my self-care plan, because, you know, I can easily write something down on a piece of paper. I can clean out my purse, and I guarantee you it's about 15 stickies in there. Something that I wrote down that I needed to remember, or something that I heard that I needed to go back to. And those kind of fine little moments play into my daily life of self-care, because I know that when it boils down to it, if I had to contextualize it, like, it is a multi-dimensional, complex shit of situations. And it is not pretty, because I know what the shadow work will bring up for me that I need to work on internally. I know in the power of my own self-care that I'm able to manifest some things that I need to work through and work above and beyond for the end reward. So I'm always interested when we talk about self-care, how does manifestation level itself or insert itself into self-care practices?
I'm gonna start off by saying, and maybe y'all can help me out, faith without words. Y'all really said it like y'all believe. Faith without words is big. Okay, so you could do one without the other all you want. Just don't have the expectation of the end result. I think the manifestation part plays a huge part in our yoga class. There were some that instantly, subconsciously, without even any notion, had already told themselves they couldn't do certain things. And it wasn't until I had to verbally tell them, nope, shift your mindset, tell yourself and your body right now, I could do this if I want to, before we do it. And all of them were able to do it, following that mindset. When I first got into this journey of self-care, self-love, and self-awareness, I read this book by a good friend of mine who is now a yoga instructor as well. And it was called Change Your Language, Change Your Life. And I think the manifestation and the mindset and the thought process is the biggest part of it all. When you ask how do you level it, I think it comes before all else, because if you don't have the mindset, if you don't have the thought process, if you're not feeding the thought process, the doing, will follow. I think we do based on how we think, and we think based on, what we tell ourselves and what we feed ourselves. So I would put manifestation at the very top of all things, because we're likely not going to even attempt to do something if there's not a small inkling like that we can, or that we want to at least. And even if we don't know that we can, there's a curiosity to just see. And I think when you make the shift between believing that you can and knowing that you can, you do. And when we sit back and really just check in with ourselves, most things that we've done, whether it's been good, negative, whatever, it's because a big part of ourselves told us that we could. Even if you sent that long text to what's his name, you told yourself that I could. If you reacted and responded in a certain way to family or to friends or in a relationship, you told yourself that it was okay to do it, that you could. However you justified it. So I think the manifestation part is a huge part of it.
Yay. All right. So to truly kind of wrap up the weekend and the visionary experience, we had our annual visionary celebration. Yes. And this is a true celebration of the weekend, of what we've gained, what we've shared, and of what's to come. One thing that I truly love about the visionary experience and the box itself is talking about the canvas that we use. And for me, the canvas is a focal point of the box. It is a focal point of the celebration, because everyone that attends receive pure, curated, raw canvas to canvas their vision for the next year. And early on, when we began hosting visionary parties, we began, I think the first year we used like the canvas that you buy from the store, right?
Yeah.
On like the one that you will hang on the wall like a picture. And very early on, we kind of got away from that, because we learned more about raw canvas and what it symbolized and what it, stands for. And ever since then, we have been, partnering with I Am Mark to get the raw curated canvas. And by raw curated, I means he goes and purchases the material. He mixes up whatever curates the actual raw material, and he paints it and labors over it with love for us. He cuts it and he gives it to us. We trim off some of the edges, we roll it up as a scroll, and we package it that way. The raw canvas itself is one that I always take the opportunity when I roll it flat every year to really just like, feel the texture and lay over it, because once you put those things that you are binding with intention, that space is taken up. And for me, I have learned to be able to leave space and save space for things that are to come. So as you guys know, I live my life in quarters. 90% of my vision boards are in quarters: first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter, on the 4 quadrants of the actual canvas. And in the middle is what I place that I want to carry throughout, so kind of the center. And then to divide each quarter, then I line it with affirmations that I want to be able to carry from one season or one quarter to the next. And with in due time and over the years saving space, I found that my fourth quarter is always a little bit more open than the others. And that is because, though I can't really foresee what is going to all go into each quarter, I have these things that I want to make sure that are there, and also be able to save space for things that I learned throughout the year. And this visionary celebration is about transformation, what you've learned, what you are reinforcing and binding to that canvas. They're pure raw canvas to set and bind with intention. So for me, the canvas is a focal point, and it's something that I truly just, one of the things that I love about the box and about the experience itself.
And I would say that would have to be mine too. Going back to what you said, when we first started, we had the canvas that you get out of like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, and all that kind of stuff. But you have to remember, those come perfect. They come framed. Yeah. They come in plastic. And it's just what it is. Yeah. A canvas. But when you have that raw canvas, like she said, it's a naked situation. Yeah. But you make it a beautiful situation with putting those being intentional with what you're putting on that board. On that raw canvas. And then it's not always pretty. Sometimes it might slide off. That's because it's supposed to be in a different area of your life. So at the same time, I just love the raw canvas, y'all. Yeah. Actually, that was a real focal point. Yeah. I think since we've started, has been one thing that I really, really love about these boxes. Yes. I'm not saying everything in there, because everything in there is great. Don't get me wrong. Everything is great. Right. But that canvas is strictly that focal point for me too.
And I think the canvas opens up for the conversation also. And one thing that I shared this year is the power of community. That's something that I, learned a great lesson in relationships, like true genuine community, true genuine sisterhood, true genuine friends, and understanding the power of those relationships being a mirror, where I'm able to hold a mirror to my friends and they're able to hold a mirror to me. Because that is where you're able to truly feed into each other and pour into each other, and it not be something that you take offensive. Like being able to give correction, being able to give feedback without being chastised or feeling chastised or judged. And that's something that we spent a great deal of time on during the conversation. I know that a lot of the ladies and a lot of us that attended the visionary celebration and the retreat this weekend, you know, had our own experiences with relationships this year. And to some extent, a little bit of, and this might be a strong word to use, a little bit of brokenness when it comes to relationships or the expectations that have been attached to relationships. And our guest speaker, you know, Nikki, really spoke to that, and being able to share with us that when it comes down to relationships, the most important one is the one that you have with yourself. And having that relationship with yourself is what will transcend into other relationships that you engage and have and interact with. We talked a great deal about understanding that what you don't transform, you will transfer. And that's big. So those things that you're unhappy with within yourself, not doing that shadow work, not, you know, overcoming those things, not doing that processing, are things that you will transfer. And I know for me, one of my like biggest fears as a mother is having my kids to have the same starting point that I had. Not that my starting point was bad, but you want your kids to have the opportunity to be and explore and be able to have better than you had. So I can do the work to make myself the best mommy, the best woman, the best person that I can be, so that they can have a better starting point than I have. And then for generations to come to be able to look up on the mantle, because, you know, I want to be on the mantle. Be on the mantle and say, you know, that's my grandmother, that's my great grandmother, and they afforded the opportunity for the foundation that we have today. So for me, being able to understand that transference was big, and understanding that that impact is great.
I agree.
Another thing that we talked about with Nikki was in regards to maturity yielding accountability. And that is the quote that she has, you know, shared on her own platform, Sozo Life. And that, you know, you have to have some accountability in your lifeline and lifetime. And one thing that Saturday's speaker spoke about that really kind of hit home for me was understanding that, you know, it may not have been your it may not have been your reason, or it may not have been your fault for the trauma that you've experienced, but it is your responsibility. So it may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility.
That part.
And that's something that we spent a great deal of time on healing from the inside out throughout the weekend. But really understanding that, you know, with manifestation, with vision boarding, will come adversity. There's going to come, you know, some times where you will receive something that may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility. And that is where maturity yields accountability. So I was clear in, you know, stating that failure is a prerequisite for success.
It is.
We're all going to experience failures, but to not be discouraged in those things. That is where you have those open spaces where you can plug in what you need in that season and in that moment, and where you have that community to hold you accountable, to hold up that mirror to you, and to help you to align or realign with what, you know, your goals and manifestation may be.
I agree. And Nikki was also in my house. And I don't know why everybody wanted to be in my house, but she hit a great deal on not being able to change a situation, but at the same time make it better. So like Tiffany said, it's your responsibility when it comes to whatever the lack thereof is. So not holding yourself accountable will yield to that failure too. But again, there is no success without failure.
Yeah.
You got to go through something to get to something.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we look at TV, or people look at TV, and they see success and think it's all microwavable, but it's not. You got to put some stuff in the oven.
Yeah. I like that.
You got to burn some stuff. It takes a little bit more time than what you actually see.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
I loved Sunday as well. I think I loved all 3 days, to be honest. Yeah. But it was really good on Sunday too.
Yeah. So here we will now share the clip from Nikki's Nikki Knight's guest speaker engagement, keynote speaker engagement from the Visionary Celebration 2023-2024.
Yes.
Right. Can we agree on that? Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about visceral vision, right? For this particular retreat, I was telling Tim that y'all, this whole week has been crazy, right? I didn't know I was gonna make it here today because I've been just under the weather. I don't get sick often. I'm definitely not sick enough to be in the bed, like not doing nothing. But on Thursday, I was like, Lord, am I going to call this lady and tell her that But I'm grateful that I'm here because I really feel like 23 was a year of shaking. Like all kinds of stuff went down. I mean, it just, if I give you a synopsis just of the last 6 months of my life, people like, girl, really? You're like, really? Right? It's a shaking, right? And I think it was an unsettling moment or moments to get us ready for 24. I don't know what's happened in your own lives, but I know for me, like I said, 23 was just kind of the breaking up and the shaking of things. Some small, some large, but really raised my awareness and my antennas. Like, all right, Nick, pay attention to this, this, and this, right? So let me just hit on a couple words that I heard Tiffany say that you guys went over and you talked through. Transition, identity, self-realization, perception, reset, reflect, and restore. How many feel like this weekend has been an opportunity to do all those things to get yourself in a place to get ready for 24? Awesome. So part of this visceral vision conversation is we're going to talk some about soul care, right? Because a lot of times, we focus on self-care, and soul care is a primary method of getting to self-care, right? And excuse the snippet. So visceral, who knows what visceral means? Who want to, I'm interactive, y'all. I hear you, know you're chewing, but I'm interactive. I'm not going to just talk at you. All right, well, I'm going to let y'all chew real quick and I'll give you definition. I'm nice. I'm a nice teacher.
Oh, you're so nice.
Yeah, okay. I ain't going to make you stop. Okay, so visceral means relating to deep inward feelings rather than intellect, right? It's your intuition. It's deep rooted. It's your gut, right? And how many of us we set our intentions and our visions based on how we feel, right? On the inside. Like we say, okay, I know this is what I need to be doing, right? And then how many of us say that with conviction and then we don't end up doing nothing that we're supposed to do? Okay, I can attest to that. Amen. So let's talk about vision really quickly. So vision is the ability to think about or plan the future with imagination and wisdom. It's to see and to create a vivid mental image of what the future will or could be, right? We all have this vision for our lives, right? My vision back in the day was I was just gonna be the rich auntie with no kids, living the dream, right? But today, 4 kids in, right? Rich is relative, right? But the vision I had for myself was so small. It was very small, and so it was small and it was safe because as a rich auntie, I could isolate. I ain't had to deal with nobody if I want to. Didn't nobody need me for nothing, and I could give what I wanted to on my own terms, right? That's small, right? And so why is vision so important? Vision gives us a script and a structure. Vision remembers us to our innocence. Remembers mean reconnecting, right? Us to our innocence. And it spurs creativity and imagination. And vision allows us to partner with our purpose, right? I have visions for different parts of my life, right? It's not a holistic, just, oh, I have this one universal vision for my entire life. That's just not how I work. I'm very compartmentalized. So I have a vision for my professional life. I have a vision for my personal life. I have a vision for each of my relationships. Because I tell people all the time, I don't love my kids the same. And they be like, what? They don't need the same things. And so I would do them a disservice if I gave them a uniform path to love it or receiving love from me, right? So my vision is dissected because it requires different things of me at different moments. How many of y'all have a singular vision, just one whole vision for your life? Just one.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, but
it makes sense to have it in compartments, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, and sometimes because we don't know how to break it up, we stick to that one, that script, right? We don't know that it's act 1 through 10. We just know and sing, let's go, right? We just stay in the same act all the time because we don't know that the scenes can change, right? And that's fair.
Right.
So with the why do we need to get back to our creativity and our innocence? Can somebody give me a reason why you would need to get back to your own creativity and your own innocence?
Because you're the only one who knows you.
You're the only one that knows you. Very good. Anybody else?
We talked a little bit about healing that inner child. And sometimes, even as an adult, that inner child may need something that was mixed.
Right. And so that's key. Because innocence is lost early on. Right? You see something, you experience something, somebody says something to you. I mean, and it could be in the home, out the home, whatever. But you have a moment that you say, I'm never going to be like X, Y, and Z. Or I'm never going to, do X, Y, and Z because of this. Or they said something to me and it took root. Oh, you just like your daddy. Oh, you just like your mom. Whatever this may be, right? It took root. And so now you operate from that place where that remains a buffer. And that's always been a hindrance for you getting to that next phase because my mama never went to school or my daddy never did X, Y, and Z. So who do I think I am to do X, Y, and Z, right? Because sometimes you can excel in other areas and still have that one thing that you want the most, but you'll never step beyond what someone said until you get to a place of really digging deep and understanding why you're stuck, right?
All right. That actually concludes the keynote speaker engagements. As we mentioned from the very beginning, like this visionary experience 2023-2024 has been one that has topped them all. And we truly hope that you have gained the impact that was rendered throughout each of these keynote speaker engagements, and that you have these as a reference point to refer back to hold you accountable as a gentle reminder of the things that have been discussed and shared by our keynote speakers.
And to always remember that this is a journey. And we really appreciate you guys allowing us to guide you on this, to assist on your journey with self-care, with your visions, goals, alignment sessions, anything that you have allowed us. We're very grateful for that particular thing that you've allowed us to do.
Right. And one additional thing that we added to this year is an accountability session. So for everyone that has participated in the visionary experience for this year, there is an accountability session that will be held on January the 21st, which is 21 days exactly from the start of the year. And we focus on January the 21st because it takes 21 days for any one person to track and to set a habit. And we hope by that time you would have begun to set and track your healthy, good habits for the 2024 year. And we will have that accountability session to be able to share in dialogue and discussion. So January the 21st will be the accountability session for our 2024 visionaries. And what we will be doing is releasing the details of the time and the location really, really soon. as I mentioned, we are always in the planning stage, and we have already begun to plan 2024, 2025. And as we share in gratitude and appreciation of you guys investing in us while you invest in yourself, we look forward to continuing to partner with you on this journey, as Kinshay has mentioned, and being a part of that journey. So please be sure to stay tuned for more details to come for 2024, 2025. We will keep our commitment as we have in the past, and that is releasing the information and the soft details on the first Sunday of March of 2024. So we thank you guys for being a part, for allowing us to be a part of your journey. And as always, we encourage you to keep talking.
Hey, my name is Sheena. This weekend at the Visionary Retreat, I have had an amazing time. It has been a reminder to ground myself, to focus on my goals, and just to kind of stay rooted where I'm planted at, and to be present in the moment. And I appreciate this experience. I'm looking forward to doing it again next year.
My experience this weekend has me feeling inspired to keep my promises to myself in 2024.